Okay, I wanted to get to this video, making this video. I tried to do it in the Philippines, but my connection was no good, so let's get right to it. This is a response or a commentary about the ongoing war between the Irish, Vinny the Irish polyglot, and of course, our favorite guy in Canada. Now, they're eschewing two different points of view, and Kaufman says that to learn a language, you need to spend a lot of time with it in input, which is a Dr. Stephen Krashen's idea of comprehensible input. But what he seems to fail to understand is comprehensible input is about 90%. You have to already know 90% of what you're hearing to use it as comprehensible input. Otherwise, it's just input, and anything lower than 90% is not actually working for you in the manner that Krashen designed it. Another person that worked with Dr. Krashen was Terrell, with a natural approach, and those two things go together very well. And what Steve Kaufman doesn't seem to like about Vinny is that Vinny actually uses a communicative approach when he's trying to master a language, and this is in following with two people pretty famous in their own rights as pioneering and making a lot of money. Michel Thomas, which was not his actual name, what a lot of these people don't like, because he made a lot of money and he wasn't there just for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to learn languages. And his is a very cognitive left brain approach, using the L1 to understand the L2's syntax, which is good, especially if you're going to go on later to become a translator, which is the only way you're going to ever really make a lot of money with language polyglot skills. The other is, of course, Paul Pimsleur, who died before his method could be put into classroom usage. His intervals of graduated recall is very strong. It's a very good technique. The problem with both of those approaches is that it tends to make other people think that you have a higher lexicon than you actually do, and you don't have a lot of practice in listening comprehension, which is definitely missing. Now, Kaufman wants to attack Benny, and I gotta side with Benny on certain factors, because Benny has taken the C level exams, and those exams in Europe, which are standardized now, are not easy. So if he's hitting those, that's a very, very good. There's a C2 exam actually in German now. So that's not just mambling and bambling. What I gotta say is that both these guys like to call themselves linguists. Neither of them are. They don't have postgraduate courses or degrees. They haven't written theses or dissertations in the field. They haven't presented anything in academia. And of course, they want to decry this, because those people who don't have credentials always want to put down those who do, because they want to say it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. So next time you get on a plane, talk to me about how you want to have a pilot who is not actually has a pilot license. Or how about a doctor who hasn't passed his boards, hasn't been licensed, and hasn't done an intern in residency? I don't think you're going to do that. But of course, let's talk about this linguaphiles who want to call themselves linguists. They're not. They neither one of them knows about syntax, pragmatics, semantics, phonetics, phonology. I can go on and on. Things that they won't understand. They're just rudimentary skills for all the real linguists. So those people on YouTube who are language learning, your linguaphiles, or your aspiring polyglots. Now, Kaufman also is approaching people who are living in isolated areas, who are playing at languages. They're not actually going to use the language. They want to do it. Like, he also had that Moses character who's learning Icelandic for what? He lives in Ohio. Well, what's the pragmatic use of that? What are you going to do with that? Trying to impress people that you're not really going to have to use the language with or for. And Benny is not. Benny is actually in the locations, and he's in Europe, where there are several languages that are very strong. German is actually the largest language there, and French is, of course, has political sway still, and this is something he can use daily. Now, I know he's traveling around. His 3-month thing is not exactly correct on certain things, because he had spent 5 years before learning the grammar of German, which obviously helped him when he went into just a high approach of speaking. Now, Kaufman is saying that the people won't want to pay attention to you. That's true. Adult learning and child learning are different, because people have tolerance for children making mistakes. Their prosody is not correct, their pronunciation is not correct, and if people expect them not to be really understood. You can listen to any mother with a child, and only the mother understands supposedly what the child is saying. Now you switch to adults, and no one has tolerance for them. Nobody wants to aid them in their health. They expect them to already be at a fluent level. And once again, if you're going to talk about different levels of fluency, the European level is testing now with the A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 is very strong. It's across the board too. It's not just specific in one little area, so that you might have a very high lexicon, say in business, but you know nothing about day-to-day things, like you don't know what shoelaces is called, or you don't know what hey, I fell down in the shower and I broke my whatever, medical terminology is part of it. All these things, show that indication that you have a broad scope, not just a narrow scope, like starting out with learning blackboard and chalk and things like that. Anyway, so back to Kaufman. He needs to quit trying to approach everyone as if they're geo-locked in a place, and that they're playing with languages, and they're going to do it by immense, intense study, which at a language that they're actually never going to really functionally use. Benny's got to make a little bit of concession on the fact that he had increased the lexicon is very important, and he is using what he knows, and he's getting a lot. This is a much stronger memory technique, though, what he's doing, because actually having to stumble at the emotional impact for your RAM, your reticular activating mechanism, is one of your strongest memory systems of your body. This is also why crashing gives way to Dr. Asher's TPR. That is the most researched and the strongest method of learning, bar none. So you can fight all you want to, but the studies prove it. And anyway, so in parting, what I like to say is, Benny keeps the fight going, and Kaufman, I don't know what you're trying to prove with decrying what he's doing. Let him do it. There's no, you could also run down Michel Thomas. You can also run down Paul Pimsleur, because they're also using the same sort of framework. And once again, all you people who are out there calling yourselves linguists, okay, let me read what you've published. Let me see what papers you've presented in academia. And if you don't have academic certification, you're not a linguist. Sorry. So you might well just dream that you're a first aid worker and you're a surgeon. Too bad. And nobody's stopping you from getting the qualifications, but don't try to pretend to be something you're not, okay? All right, so from Bangkok, Thailand. I'll see you later. Pop kan mai krap.